Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going way back in time to explore the Book of Ruth.
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years, yeah. Now, you might think...
It's an old one.
It is an old one. You might think you know this story, but I bet
Oh, yeah.
there are layers of meaning we can unpack together that go way beyond a simple happily ever after.
Well, the Book of Ruth is kind of like an onion. You peel back that familiar love story, and you find some really fascinating insights
Ooh.
into ancient societal structures, cultural anxieties,
Right.
even hints of rebellion against the norms.
Ooh, rebellion. That's not
Yeah.
something you usually associate with biblical tales.
Right.
All right, so set the stage for us. What's going on in the world of the Book of Ruth?
Well, from the start, we're just thrown into this crisis. A famine strikes Bethlehem. This family, Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their 2 sons, they have to make a desperate decision. They leave everything behind and head to Moab, just hoping to survive. But then tragedy strikes almost immediately,
Oh, no.
and Elimelech dies, leaving Naomi alone with her sons.
That's a heavy blow right off the bat. You can
Yeah.
already feel that weight of uncertainty and loss just bearing down on them.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't stop there, right?
No, unfortunately not. The sons marry Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah, but then they both die as well.
Oh, wow.
So now you have Naomi, a widow and a foreigner in a strange land.
Yeah.
She's left with her 2 daughters-in-law, facing an incredibly bleak future.
Wow, talk about a cascade of hardships.
It is.
It's no wonder Naomi makes the decision to return to Bethlehem,
Yeah.
even though it means leaving behind the life she built in Moab. But why does she urge her daughters-in-law to stay behind?
Well, I think it's a combination of practicality and just despair.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi knows that as a widowed foreigner, her prospects in Bethlehem are slim. She's essentially returning empty-handed, no husband, no sons, and very little hope of support. And it's this despair that leads her to change her name to Mara, which means bitter.
Wow.
It's just this raw expression of her emotional state.
Yeah.
And I think something a lot of people can relate to even today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like she's giving up on the possibility of happiness
Mm-hmm.
or a future worth fighting for. And yet it's this moment of utter hopelessness
Yeah.
that sets the stage for one of the most powerful declarations of loyalty in literature, right?
Absolutely. Orpah, understandably heartbroken, chooses to return to her family and her, familiar life in Moab.
Mm-hmm.
But Ruth, in a truly radical act of defiance,
Yes.
refuses to leave Naomi's side. Her words, "Where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God."
Chills.
They just echo through time. They really do. It's such a powerful testament to the depth of their bond.
Those words still give me chills.
I know.
It's such a bold statement, especially considering what Ruth is choosing to leave behind.
Yeah.
It's not just family and home,
Yeah.
but her entire cultural and religious identity.
It's huge.
It makes you wonder, what motivated such a drastic decision? Was it purely out of love for Naomi, or was there something more? Perhaps a quiet rebellion against the rigid social boundaries of the time?
That's a fascinating question, and one that digs deeper into the underlying message of the Book of Ruth.
Okay.
It's easy to get swept away by the romantic aspects of the story, but there's a lot more going on beneath the surface.
I'm sensing some of those onion layers starting to peel back.
Yes.
So we've got these 2 women bound by loss and unconventional loyalty, heading back to a place that holds both pain and possibility. But how will a Moabite woman like Ruth, an outsider in every sense of the word, how will she navigate a system that seems designed to exclude her? That's what I'm dying to know.
Mm-hmm.
We left off with Naomi and Ruth arriving back in Bethlehem, and it's harvest time.
Yeah.
Which means survival really depends on the generosity of others, especially for those with no lead of their own.
Right.
It's a precarious situation to be in, to say the least.
It really highlights the vulnerability of women like Naomi and Ruth in ancient Israelite society. I mean, they were completely reliant on the goodwill of others,
Yeah.
particularly kinship ties, which carried specific obligations and responsibilities.
Right.
And that brings us to Boaz,
Okay.
a wealthy landowner who happens to be a relative of Naomi's deceased husband.
Okay, so not just a random rich guy.
No,
A kinsman.
a kinsman.
That's got to be significant, right?
Huge, usually. In their culture, kinship wasn't just about, family reunions.
Mm-hmm.
It was about social and economic safety nets.
Oh, okay.
If a woman's husband died without an heir, a close male relative could step in
Interesting.
to marry her and continue the family line,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring both her well-being
Mm-hmm.
and the preservation of family property. It's this ancient custom
Okay.
known as kinship redemption
Okay.
that becomes central to the story.
I see. So Boaz is more than just a potential love interest.
Yeah,
He represents a possible lifeline for Naomi and Ruth.
right.
A chance for them to regain some stability and security in a world that seems determined to keep them down?
Exactly. Now remember, it's harvest time,
Yes.
and Ruth, determined to provide for herself and Naomi, she goes out to glean in the fields.
Okay.
This wasn't charity. It was a right enshrined in their law that allowed the poor to collect leftover grain after the harvest. It was hard work, backbreaking even, but essential for survival.
Right.
Yeah.
And as luck, or perhaps fate would have it, Ruth ends up gleaning in Boaz's field.
Yes.
I can already picture the scene, this young foreign woman
Yep.
diligently working amidst the hustle and bustle of the harvest. What was Boaz's reaction when he noticed her?
Well, first he inquires about her,
Mm-hmm.
and he's clearly impressed by her work ethic
Okay.
and her devotion to Naomi. But here's the thing that struck me.
Yeah.
Boaz goes above and beyond what's legally required of him.
Interesting.
Not only does he allow Ruth to glean freely in his fields, he instructs his workers to treat her with kindness.
Wow.
So ensure her safety and even to leave extra grain for her to gather. He even invites her to share meals with his workers,
Okay.
a level of generosity that would have raised eyebrows in their society.
Okay, so not just a stand-up guy,
Yeah,
but a genuinely compassionate one. I can see why people see Boaz as a model of righteousness in the Bible.
absolutely.
But there's also this growing attraction between him and Ruth, right?
Well, there's definitely a spark there. Their interactions are subtle, full of respect and admiration,
Yeah.
but you can just sense a connection forming
Yeah.
beneath the surface. Remember, this was a society where marriages were often arranged for social and economic stability.
Right.
So the fact that they're developing feelings for each other
Yeah.
adds a layer of complexity
It does.
and perhaps even a touch of scandal.
Right, because even though Ruth has proven herself to be loyal and hardworking, she's still an outsider,
Mm-hmm.
a Moabite woman in a world that prized lineage and belonging. And she's a widow, which carries its own social stigma.
Right.
So a relationship with Boaz, while offering potential salvation,
Yeah.
is also fraught with risks.
It's a classic dilemma. The heart wants what it wants.
Mm-hmm.
But societal pressures, cultural anxieties often get in the way. And in the case of Ruth and Boaz, their burgeoning romance is bumping up against some very ancient prejudices.
Yeah. So we got a potential love story, a cloud of cultures, and this ancient custom of kinship redemption swirling around. What happens next? Does Naomi see Boaz as a chance to secure Ruth's future? And how does Boaz navigate these complicated cultural waters?
That's where things get really interesting. Naomi, ever the strategist, hatches a plan.
Okay.
One that hinges on Ruth taking a bold, even risky action.
Oh, I knew Naomi wouldn't just sit back and watch fate unfold.
No.
What does she have in mind? This is where I'm leaning in, folks.
Yeah.
Because this is where the story takes a turn toward the unexpected. All right, we're back, and I am ready to hear this plan. Last we left off, Naomi had a plan.
We did.
And I'm guessing it involves Boaz and that whole Kinsman-Redeemer thing.
You got it. Naomi, she sees Boaz as the key to not only securing Ruth's future, but also kind of restoring her own family's lineage.
Right.
But remember, it's not as simple as just asking him to marry Ruth.
Right.
There are customs, traditions,
Yeah.
and even legal complexities that need to be navigated
Oh, of course, yeah.
carefully.
Okay, so walk me through this. What's Naomi's game plan?
Well, Naomi instructs Ruth to approach Boaz in the threshing floor.
Okay.
Now, that might seem like an odd choice.
Yeah.
But think about it. The threshing floor was more than just a work site. It was a place of celebration,
Okay.
a hub of activity where deals were struck
Interesting.
and social gatherings took place.
Ah, so not just a random meeting.
No.
No, a strategic one.
Strategic, yeah.
But what exactly does Ruth do?
Well, this is where things get a little daring.
Okay.
Naomi tells Ruth to wait until Boaz is asleep
Mm-hmm.
and then to uncover his feet and lie down at them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a bold move.
Yeah.
One that carried a significant risk of misinterpretation.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was also a symbolic act.
Okay.
A way of appealing to his sense of duty and honor as a kinsman.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure
It is.
to put on both Ruth and Boaz.
It is.
What was his reaction when he woke up and found Ruth at his feet?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Boaz doesn't react with anger or disgust, which could have easily been the case
Right.
in a society with strict social norms. Instead, he's impressed by Ruth's courage and her devotion to Naomi.
Okay.
He praises her character and acknowledges his obligation to act as a kinsman-redeemer.
So he's basically saying, I'm willing to do the right thing.
Exactly, yeah. But
Uh-oh.
there's a complication.
Okay.
It turns out there's another relative closer in line who has the first right of refusal.
Oh.
So before Boaz can marry Ruth,
Yeah.
he has to approach this other kinsman and give him the opportunity to fulfill his duty.
So even acts of love and redemption are bound by legal and social structures.
They are.
Where does this all play out?
The whole negotiation unfolds at the city gate,
Okay.
a public space where legal matters were often settled.
Okay.
It's a fascinating glimpse into how ancient societies functioned,
Yeah.
with everything done out in the open, transparent,
Yeah.
and accountable to the community.
I love how even this seemingly private matter becomes a public affair. It speaks to the importance of communal values,
Yeah.
collective responsibility.
Absolutely.
But what happens with the other kinsman? Is he willing to step up?
Well, he initially seems interested, but then when he realizes that marrying Ruth also means taking on responsibility for Naomi and her deceased husband's land,
Oh.
he backs down,
Okay.
clearing the path for Boaz to fulfill his role as redeemer.
So after all that drama, Boaz and Ruth finally get their happy ending.
They do, and it's a joyous occasion celebrated by the entire community. It's a testament to the power of love, perseverance, and even a bit of legal maneuvering
Of course, yeah.
to overcome these seemingly insurmountable obstacles. And it also speaks to the idea that sometimes bending or challenging tradition
Yeah.
can lead to a greater good.
I mean, talk about defying expectations.
Right.
Ruth, the Moabite outsider, not only finds love and security, but becomes an integral part of the community.
And the story doesn't end there.
Okay.
Ruth gives birth to a son, Obed,
Mm-hmm.
who becomes the grandfather of King David, one of the most significant figures in Israelite history.
Oh, wow.
So in a way, Ruth's journey, this story of loss, resilience,
Yeah.
and unexpected love, becomes interwoven with the very fabric of their nation's history.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest impact comes from those who are initially underestimated or overlooked.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most enduring lessons of the Book of Ruth.
Yeah.
The idea that welcoming outsiders, embracing those who are different,
Mm-hmm.
can lead to unexpected blessings and a richer, more vibrant society.
Well, this has been an incredibly deep dive. I feel like we've peeled back those layers of meaning and discovered so much more than just a simple love story. We've explored ancient customs, social structures, and even the power of defying expectations. What do you think our listener is taking away from this deep dive?
I hope they're left with a sense of wonder,
Yeah.
not only at the enduring power of this ancient tale, but also at the complexities of human relationships and the ways in which love, loss, and the search for belonging transcend time and culture.
Beautifully said. And for you, our listener, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you most? Share your reflections on social media or with a friend. And if you're inspired to revisit the Book of Ruth yourself, I guarantee you'll find even more layers of meaning to uncover. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.